turning up. Yeah, but
Oh,
yes,
okay.
we're
There seems to be a power cut, so I think it will take a bit of time for the.
আমার ল্যাপটপ ফোনটা হচ্ছে জিমেল, আমার ডেটাটাও তো ইউজ হচ্ছে বলেই মনে হচ্ছে ওপরে কি হচ্ছে বাকি কিছু
ঘেটে গেল ওয়াইফাই বা নেটওয়ার্ক না থাকার জন্য। কারেন্ট এবং নেটওয়ার্ক স্ট্রং কানেকশন না হলে এগুলো কিছুই করা যাবে না।
কতক্ষণ চালানো যায়, তাও তো খুব যে একটা খারাপ হয়েছে তা নয়। 1 ঘন্টা 5 মিনিটটা এই সেশনটা একটু হতে পারলে ভালো হতো, একজনেরটাও ধরতে পারলে।
শান্তনুটা ধরা গেছে, শান্তনুটার পরে হঠাৎ করে কেটে গেল কেন বুঝতে পারলাম। আমি তো বন্ধ করিনি, কন্টিনিউয়াস চলবে, কেটে গেল।
আর হবে না।
5টা বাজে।
মুশকিলটা আরো শেয়ার করছেন অনলাইনে, এরকম ঘাটা আছে বুঝতে পারছেন জিনিসটা।
Okay, the thing is that in spite of certain power disruptions, we have to continue. And our next speaker is Mr. Shopon Chakraborty. And I would request him to present his paper. And I would request him to kindly stick to the time, which is 8 to 10 minutes. Kindly proceed, Mr. Chakraborty.
Okay, okay, am I audible? No, there's an echo. Just Sorry, just a glitch. Yeah, thank you. Presentation দেখতে পাবো না। Okay, let me just move slide because there's some problem. I'm trying to adjust given the constraint, but still the sound is coming. Okay, so তো কি করবো এটা অফ করবো? Yeah, continuously coach. ওটাতে আমি স্ক্রিন শেয়ার করবো কি করে? আমার পেন ড্রাইভ তো তুমি ঠিক আছে, লেটস কন্টিনিউ, কোনো অসুবিধা নেই। Okay, so this is a ongoing work, and so let me first quickly outline the presentation. So again, we don't have much time to go in details of that. So we have, and everybody's talking about the Niti Aayog 2020 report. So we have the report, and we also have some understanding about gig and platform economy. How is it different from traditional market economy? And we also mention about gig workers, their types, opportunity, challenges, and Indian gig worker decent job. And basically, this paper looks into a very important element of the policy debate that we have in India, is that India being one of the youngest economy, like many international data projects that Indian population is young population. So does gig work or this kind of work is a hindrance or some kind of constraint towards the demographic dividend that we talk about? Because India is supposed to be an economy which will earn demographic dividend because India has a huge population, large proportion of young population. So this paper we try to look into these different aspects of demographic dividend from the perspective of gig economy or platform economy. We don't mention survey design methodology because we don't have much time in this. So today we just briefly mention about our motivation and how we proceed to understand. So one of the Niti Aayog report 2020, sorry, is 2002 mentioned. There's a typos. There's an increase in the number of gig workers from 6.8 million to around 7.7 million from 2019 to 20. And it is expected to increase by to 23.5 million by 2029-30. The Niti Aayog also mentioned about employment elasticity, which is more than one, which is a very positive sign. I mean, this is all positive aspect mentioned by Niti Aayog. And if you look at the sector-specific classification where the gig workers are actually working, you'll find out that 2.7 million gig workers are actually the retail and trade, 1.3 million in transport, and the retail is expected to increase the number of gig workers and 3.9 lakhs job in the manufacturing sector in the coming future. Very important and very interesting observation. Before that, we also heard about it that major of the number of workers who are engaged in the gig professions are mostly in the high and low domain of skill. But the initial trend, if you look at the 47% of the gig workers were engaged in medium skill. When we look at the 2022 report, the earlier transition, and 22% of the high skill and 31% the low skill job. And as mentioned by the earlier speaker, there is a gradual shift from the medium skill to the low and high skill job, right? So, in terms of skill, it is moving from medium skill to the high and low skill job over the period of time. And as you can see, there is, it's coming from Niti Aayog report that from 2011 to 2019-20, you'll find out the majority of the gig workers are actually in the sector called retail trade, and motor vehicles and motorcycles, transportation and storage. So 41% to 36%, and slightly around 40% till 2019-20, and transport almost around 20% by 2019 and 20. What kind of jobs these gig workers are doing? You'll find out that they do shop salesperson, demonstration and stall, basically retail kind of trade job. You'll find the shopping mall and other places. The number is 39%, and it is almost on the higher level. And the second largest composition of the job the gig workers are doing into the motor vehicles, which is 17% and around 20% till now. So this is a small pictorial representation of the gig work that we have. Where does the majority of the gig workers are engaged in the modern urban society? Now, this paper, is not about the data. Data is there, and we have the data from Niti Aayog. This paper is more about the employer-employee relationship that is emerging in the gig economy. এইটা হচ্ছে retail, shop sales and markets. এটা হচ্ছে motor vehicle drivers, nature of the type of job they are doing. And there are others like clerks, housekeeping, and etc. But much smaller percentage. Okay, let me full screen করে দেবো. Oh, yeah. Now, the question that we are trying to understand, again, what type of job and opportunity challenges the gig workers have. There's a very famous paper by Stephen Wallace and Juliet Score, 2020. There are 5 categories of gig workers, and most of them I've already mentioned. I'm not going to waste time here. As you can see, there are broadly 5 types. The first category is a high skill job, which is like technocrats and architects who perform like different kind of app design and technological work. So they're high skill and high paid job. Second time, who use cloud-based consultant like Upwork. People have mentioned that. But we are mostly talking about the third category of gig worker, which is basically your ride-hail, food delivery, and home repair and other kind of care service. There are other 4th and 5th type you can find out in the literature, very standard literature on the type of gig work that you'll find out. What is interesting from our perspective, what kind of thing that we are trying to look into is we are trying to build a model about, though we are not going to talk about the model, is the motivation of the model, that why this gig economy or platform economy has emerged. Like Madam has already mentioned, is a historical transition from 1990 onwards that we have market economy coming out, and in the informal labor market, all this plays a very important role for the emergence of gig economy. So then we need to understand what is platform. The platform is not always digital. Try to understand that. Normally people think about platform is a digital place. So we define platform as a matching. Platform is a matching between pool of buyers and pool of sellers. Sometimes buyers try to find out the platform where they can find out all the sellers. And also, for example, if I'm going to a shopping mall is also a platform where the multiple sellers are coming together. Even multiple sellers also can find out a buyer from another platform. So platform is basically a matching place between the pools of buyers and sellers. And basically in your optimizing exercise, a buyer in their utility function will have number of sellers when it comes to platform. And for a seller which is maximizing the profit in their objective function, the number of buyers will be objective function as profit maximizing exercise. We know that in a traditional market economy, transaction cost reduces market efficiency. So if you look at any kind of traditional market economy, a buyer need to find out a seller need to find out the buyer. This whole exercise of finding out buyers and seller creates what is called the transaction cost. And Baumol has a paper way back looking at how transaction cost reduces the market efficiency. And we are trying to argue that Well, maybe platform is a mechanism through which the efficiency is ensured by reducing the transaction cost in a market economy. All right. So, is the gig worker an instrument of lowering the transaction cost in the market economy? Well, if you look at the trade, mostly in the retail trade and the motor vehicle drivers, who is basically doing delivery boys and etc. So you will argue that probably the existence of gig worker or gig economy is a way to reduce the transaction cost, or reduce the uncertainty between the buyers and sellers. And ma'am was rightly mentioned during the lunch hour. Another very important element which we miss out when we talk about the product. The product also associated with a very important time is your time. Time has become very important element. So we can also use time as an element to understand how it is affecting the transaction cost. Is platform economy is absolutely free from cost? So look at the different type of cost we think about. Both ICT. Probably you have mentioned the ICT based cost. So what are the costs associated with the platform economy? You'll find out the cost of procurement and storage, cost of delivery, and cost of mobile technology, which we call the indirect cost. So if you are a platform worker, you need to have a mobile phone. We call it an indirect cost. If you are a storekeeper, we don't have time to talk about the model. We just basically motivate that this is a way to understand the efficiency. And then I think we will just quickly go through. What about the employment relation that we are talking about? Remember, this gig economy work are derived demand, because these derived demands are consequence of why gig economy exists. This is one important point that we should mention here, that the existence of derived demand due to gig economy is coming from the fact that we live in an urban world with a nuclear society with less time available to meet day-to-day demand. So you have an urban society where large number of nuclear families are working, and they are working professional. They need to have their day-to-day activities going on. For that, they need a gig economy. What are the second attributes to the existence of gig economy? Unemployment and the institution, which are maybe one of the reasons that you have the gig economy existing. We don't have a labor law which is actually protecting the worker right now. MNCs are continuously motivating. I'm just in a 1 minute. I'm going to finish. Yeah, just 1 minute. MNCs continuously innovating in technology and modern algorithm to reach global market. You see, we have a global capital, and platform also use complex algorithm to regulate and control the functioning of the loop. Finally, we want to talk about this, that according to the report of the technical group of population, that India is remain as high as 60% in terms of the young population, which is going to be 60% around 2030 as well. And majority of these workers in the gig economy are in the age 17 to 35. So do you think, this is a question to all of us, and also that is a question that I'm trying to address, that given the kind of employee relation which is emerging in the modern gig economy, does demographic dividend is a reality, or it is a myth in terms of Indian economy? Thank you. Thank you very much. Any question?
Okay. Our final speaker, our final paper presenter for the day is Bishwajit Khara, independent researcher, and the title of his topic is Mapping the Precariat Toward a Sustainable Paradigm of Labor Security and Digital Humanism in the Indian Gig Economy. And I would request Mr. Khara to kindly stick to the time, which is 8 to 10 minutes.